Welcome back to Film Fanatics, where we talk about the movies that have us obsessed, excited, and inspired. And I'm Gall.
I'm Alan.
Count down our top 5 time travel movies of all time is Chris from Film Stalked. Welcome to
Hello.
the podcast, Chris.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited to talk about this new DC movie and some time travel flicks.
So let's start with our top 5s, our top 5 time travel movies. And I guess because you're a guest, do you want to go first? Let's go 5 through 3.
Yeah, let's do it. So this was a tough one for me. I was thinking there's a lot of time travel movies, sort of the variety, you know. So at number 5 for me, I have Tenet, a Christopher Nolan movie. It's like less time travel, more time inversion. I'm a big sucker for this movie. I know a lot of people, it's kind of a divisive one for him. I'm excited to rewatch it soon before Oppenheimer. Number 4 for me, X-Men Days of Future Past. It's like my top 2 or 3 favorite X-Men movie. I think it's brilliant the way they incorporated like the older generation with the newer generation. And it's a movie that I go back and rewatch quite a bit. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in that movie. He's the man. And then I guess rounding out my number 3 before we go around the horn is Avengers Endgame. I don't care. I'm a sucker for that movie. It is the perfect conclusion to the Infinity Saga in my mind. And I'll always cherish that one, seeing it on the big screen. So that's my 5 through 3.
I will refrain to comment in some of those.
Yeah, we try not to
for now.
react if it's like, if it's on both of ours.
But the first one, Tenet, I can say Tenet is not on mine, so I'll comment on that. Gao knows this, that Tenet's like my least favorite Nolan film. And I think...
I did not know that.
You didn't? Okay, so I guess you did not know that. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Tenet. Don't get me wrong, he's my favorite director, so like, it's still like an 8 for me, like his worst movie. But like, yeah, I guess I didn't even consider putting it on the list, but I guess it's a good shout. I think I still wouldn't have, because it's not one of my favorites, but it's a good shout. It's a very like, he plays with time very weirdly in that movie. It's a fun time.
Tenet's fire. Tenet's up there. I've seen it twice. I'm with you. I saw it in theaters. I'm with you there.
Great, and the other, yeah,
Alright.
I think I saw it twice as well, but not in theaters. I think I saw once in theaters and once back home, something like that probably. I think on HBO Max, right? Because I remember it was like the first year of HBO Max, and it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was one of their big like tentpole movies.
Awesome. So, Gal, do you want to go next?
Okay, yeah, I was thinking long about this one,
Yeah, this
because
was a
there were
hard
some of
one.
them that I just did I want to put on, did I not want to put them on, so at the end of the day, I almost went with Tenet, but it was like number 6. But number 5 for me is actually Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I haven't seen it yet.
Really? Man, I love Bill and Ted. I really wanted to shout this one out because I feel like I've just talked a lot about Tenet and I want to shout out an old movie. I don't know how you haven't seen Bill and Ted's Fire.
I haven't seen any of the Bill and Ted movies.
I've seen the first one and the third one, which is also really good. It's a lot of fun. You got Keanu Reeves as Ted Logan delivering his most nuanced and deep performance that there is. And and then you have Alex Winter as Bill S. Preston Esquire. He always introduces himself with the Esquire as if he's some lawyer, even though he's like a 17-year-old high schooler. And one of them, I don't remember who, but like one of the dads is threatening to send them off to military school. You've seen the movie, right? Like, do you remember this?
I haven't seen it either, yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah,
haven't seen it?
we
Okay,
have,
so
neither
guys,
of us
watch
have.
Bill and Ted. Oh my God, it's such a good movie. And so I showed it to my dad when the new one came out, and we were trying to like find a place to rent it because it was also the pandemic. And you also have like Napoleon going down a water slide, or Genghis Khan riding a skateboard in a mall. You have all this ridiculous stuff. There's never a bad time to talk about Bill and Ted because it's so much fun. So that's why I went with Bill and Ted.
I love Keanu. I don't know how I haven't seen this.
Yeah, same.
This is honestly Keanu has most charismatic, because all the other times he's like super like, whoa, like he has to keep a straight face, but here he gets to be, he's an idiot as Ted, but he's really charismatic. Number 4, I also almost put X-Men Days of Future Past, by the way. I've seen it like 5 times, but I ended up deciding to put another movie from 2014, Edge of Tomorrow, with Tom Cruise. Also, I'm not sure how many times I've seen it. Maybe twice. I definitely saw it once in theaters, and I remember just having so much fun with it. It didn't take itself too seriously, and the action was really good. You guys have seen it?
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
I've
Okay,
seen
so
part. I
it's
never finished it, but I'm gonna check it out
oh
because I think they're making a
really?
sequel. So
Really?
yeah. Hmm.
So
I'm
I think it's Doug Liman's probably his best movie.
I might agree with that actually.
Um,
I know it's your number 3.
yeah, so I'd put that over Born Identity, and then Edge of Tomorrow. Number three, I went with an older one, and I hope you guys have seen it. 12 Monkeys from 1995.
I
It's directed by Terry Gilliam and has Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt in his first Oscar-nominated performance. Christopher Plummer. Chris, have you seen it? I don't think Alan has.
It's on
I
the
have
watch
seen
list.
it, but I don't remember it. Like I don't remember a
So you guys
single
haven't
thing
seen
about
12
it.
Monkeys. I knew it was good to put on the list because y'all haven't seen it. Even if I've seen X-Men more times,
No,
I
I've seen
actually
it. I just don't remember anything because I've seen
uh,
it like 10 years ago or something like that.
I think I tried to get Alan to watch it for one of the episodes, and it just didn't
It
come
didn't
into
happen, yeah.
fruition. But definitely watch it. I watched it while it was like during the pandemic, and this is a world that's been like ruined, and the apocalypse just happened, so they have to go back in time to stop some like I forget what it was, some sort of like disease that was being spread by some terrorists that led to the apocalypse. So it really hit close to home during all the lockdowns, but it's a really good movie. I haven't seen all of Terry Gilliam's movies, but this is one of the best.
Awesome. So I guess now that leaves me. My number 5. I don't think you guys are gonna have on your list. I guess that's kind of like my tenet. Is Palm Springs, directed
Oh,
by Max
it's a good movie.
Barbacol, and starring Andy Samberg and Kristen Milioti. Have you watched it, Chris?
Yeah, that's a great one from 2020. Like that movie, it balances the comedy with like really serious topics so well. Like J.K. Simmons is like a scene stealer in that
Oh, it's
movie.
so good.
Yeah.
He's like going on a rampage, like trying to kill Andy Samberg through all these different. That's a good one. That's a good
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah, that one actually like I when it was one of my favorite movies to watch during lockdown. It came out like right when things were like really bad, and it came out on Hulu. And I remember like me and my roommates were quarantined, and we all watched it together.
So it hits close to home.
And it was really fun. Every one of us loved it. Um, and yeah, Andy Samberg is one of my favorite comedians, and
Hmm.
Kristen Milioti. I know her only from like How I Met Your Mother, but yeah, she's great too.
She's super underrated. Also great in Black Mirror. Would shout her
Yeah,
out.
and she's also in The Wolf of Wall Street, I think.
Yeah, she was his first
Oh yeah.
wife. And she's in Fargo season 2. If
Yeah,
you guys have watched. She's Patrick Wilson's wife in that.
yeah,
So underrated actress, Kristen Milioti, shout out.
yeah, for sure. And just like I love the aesthetic of this film, uh, like how the neon, like the desert and all that. Like I like the cinematography is really cool, and really like how they integrate like the time traveling, the time loop thing. Um,
Ironically, I'm pretty sure this is made by a production company called Neon.
I
really,
believe
Wait,
that's
did
true.
they?
Yeah.
Did Neon produce this? Yeah, Hulu and Neon produced it.
oh, fantastic.
They also made
The logo,
Not Palm Springs, Triangle of Sadness and Parasite. That
yeah,
was also
the
them.
logo of Palm Springs is also like in neon on the
Yeah.
cover.
So is the logo of Neon.
So my number 4, uh, Gal said it already, but I stayed quiet. It's Edge of Tomorrow. I
Hey.
love Edge of Tomorrow. I only discovered this movie this year, so I never watched it in theaters. But you're damn right. I think is Lyman's favorite. At least for me, is Lyman's best movie for me.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt are so freaking good in this movie, and I the story is like really surprising and like I guess kind of weird that I put like 2 time loop movies in here, but because I don't really like that concept that much, but it really works, especially in these 2 movies and especially in Edge of Tomorrow. Like it's such a dark world and it's so fucked up, and like discovering that world with Tom Cruise as this character, I have no idea what his name is.
Also, I think it's Bill Cage or something.
That's
Also, shout
horrible.
out to the late Bill Paxton, who's so good in this
Oh yeah,
movie.
he's really good.
He killed it. Also, speaking of time travel movies, there's some really bad ones. I have never seen Happy Death Day. Have you guys seen it?
No.
Never will.
I've always stayed away. I don't know if I should.
People say it's like one of those dumb good movies. That's what I've heard.
It's all
At
those
least
Christopher Landon slasher movies like Freaky that are like ironically good,
exactly, like
like
kind of
dumb
like that.
fun.
Yeah, and so that's my number four. My number three, Chris already said it as well. It's X-Men: Days of Future Past. It's my favorite X-Men movie of all time. Um, I love it so much. Like it's pretty close with X2 and X-Men First Class and Logan, which are all my favorite X-Men movies ever.
I'm literally the same way.
But like with X-Men in the title, this is my favorite movie, and yeah, I watch this movie like probably once a year, and I always have a freaking blast. And when I did the rewatch, was also again that's when I found out that wow, that's really my favorite one. And yeah, I could pop this movie on like any day and have like just such a good time. Like Chris said, Hugh Jackman is fantastic in it. Um, I love having the two different actors for each character. I think that adds a whole other layer to these types of movies that we didn't have back then in 2014. Like today, it's pretty normal to have like different versions walking around and all that with like all this multiverse bullshit. But like back then, it was like really something new, and yeah, especially loving the comics. Like that was a that was
So
a
I think
freaking
out of
blast.
all the X-Men movies, this one had the most stacked cast because you had both Charles and Eric's. You had Holly Berry, Jennifer Lawrence, Nicholas Hoult,
Yeah.
Elliot Page. Everyone was so good.
Yeah. That movie is honestly fantastic, and I still want to believe that the ending of that movie is the actual ending for the Fox's X-Men. I hate that they did
They
like
all
two
die.
other shit movies after that.
Yeah.
So
Professor X probably killed them all in between this and Logan.
that no that makes me glad actually that like he killed all of them after I watched Dark Phoenix. I'm like, yeah, you all should die.
Uh, Now I feel bad. This I definitely would have put this in Tenet over Bill and Ted, but I'm still glad I shouted out Bill and Ted.
It's a different movie for us to have here. So, Chris, what's your second one? Then Gal's second one, and then
Mhm.
after mine, we'll do first.
Yeah, absolutely. So my number two isn't a conventional like you don't think of it as a time travel movie because there isn't really time travel to the third act. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. It is
Oh,
my
that's such a
favorite
good shout.
Harry Potter
Fuck
movie.
me.
Whoa. I
I
didn't
Oh,
think of
adore
that
this
too.
one.
I want to put
Yeah.
it on now.
Like as soon as you said
Oh,
Harry
mine.
Potter, I knew where you were going, and I was like, damn it.
That's a
Yeah.
really good shout. That's like my favorite Potter
Also
movie.
better than Bill and Ted,
One
even
of
though
my
I still love Bill and
That's
Ted.
in my top 20 movies of all time. I think I love that movie so damn much. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
hate
love it because Cuarón comes in and like flips the script on the first two like Chris Columbus directed movies where they're like family friendly. This one has that dark edge to it. You've got Sirius Black and Remus Lupin introduced, and it's just like a brilliant third act. Watching everything play out through like the other perspective. It's such a smart movie. It had to be on this list for me.
good.
I think
So,
that's
so good.
honestly some of the best time travel we've seen in movies.
And it's
and
weird
I
because
didn't.
it's not sci-fi. It's like magic. Like that's
Yeah.
really like, man, Chris, you've won this episode.
We're defeated here, sitting in the studio.
Yeah, like I wish I put it on mine now. It would have been my second now that I thought about it, but yeah, because it can be my number one because that's like my favorite time travel movie. But that's a really close second. Love that
Mhm.
pick, Chris. How
Yeah.
about you, Gal?
Okay, number two for me. You guys are gonna have to chill out as to why this is my number two, but I will get to it.
Oh no.
Number two is Back to the Future,
Okay.
but you will understand better once we get to my number one why Back to the Future is only number two.
Okay.
I know
but
that's a crime, but
Just to reiterate something I don't think we actually said on the episode, but we said to each other before, like when we were planning this, we were capping this one movie per franchise. So like one MCU movie, one X-Men movie. So like if you put one Back to the Future movie, you can only pick one from the three.
even though I wouldn't put any of these movies below Back to the Future 3. It's still a fun movie, but I wouldn't put Back to the Future 3 on my top 5
Yeah, I
over
would
like
never.
Edge of Tomorrow.
I would definitely not. But like 2 and 1 could have been on my top 5, maybe.
No, 2 is a lot of fun still.
I think
So-
3 is slept on. It's the worst, but I still have so much fun with it.
It's still a lot of fun.
It's the same situation that I just said with like Nolan. Like it's still like an 8 out of 10 movie, at least for me. But like because the other ones are like, in my opinion, 10 out of 10. Like it's hard to compete.
But they still have like Biff's grandpa, who's the villain, and he still goes like, "I hate manure." There's still some good
He
moments,
still looks
but
the
it's not
exact
top five.
same for some reason, even though generations have passed. But it's funny. I
What's
love
the name
that
of the
choice.
actor who plays Biff? I've like he's always been the biggest, but I don't know his name though.
I don't remember his name. So okay, so your second one was Back to the Future.
That's right. Wait,
Um,
Thomas F. Wilson. Okay, shout out Thomas F. Wilson
okay,
for playing
my
the biggest bully of my childhood.
yeah, he's great.
Hello, anyone home? Thick McFly.
So my second one has also already been said here, by Chris. It's Avengers Endgame. I This is my favorite MCU movie.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's No Way Home, but like it really depends. It's between the two of them all the time. But yeah, this is the best experience I ever had in a movie theater, I think. I went, midnight with my two best friends, and like it was probably like one of the best things ever. I remember like the anticipation and like buying the tickets like a month before when they were all sold out, and like my friend had to actually, I was at work and we were trying to get the ticket, like, and the site kept crashing, like
Oh
all the
no,
websites were crashing, and
I
I knew
hate
my
that.
best friend lived like a block away from the movie theater that we wanted to see, so I called him like desperately and I was like, just run there and try to get it physically, fuck it. And he just went, he ran it, he got the tickets for us, we went opening weekend, and it was like one of the best time. It was Gabs, you know Gabs.
Yeah,
um so
that's
he's the one
dedication.
that did that.
That's
um
dedication.
so yeah, that was fantastic, and like I really love how they incorporate time travel in this movie. Um, Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but to be fair, all these movies don't make sense really if you if you start breaking down. But like I really love how they played with like alternate realities, and uh, the emotional beats of like Cap seeing Peggy in the past, Tony seeing his dad, like those kind of things really hit. With Peter and Gamora as well, like all that tension. So yeah, it's one of my favorite time travel movies for sure.
For reference, I probably would have put Endgame if I'd thought about it. I don't know why other movies popped in my head first, but I can't argue. Like I love Endgame. There's no excuse as to why it's not on my top five. I just think of these more as time travel movies.
That's
Endgame is
fair.
more of superhero movie.
Yeah, I know what you
That's
mean.
fair. Okay, Chris, you're number one.
It's no surprise. It's the generic pick, but it's the only answer in my opinion. Back to the Future. I think a lot of people have this in like their top 10 favorite all time. I got a poster hanging on my wall right over there. I think it's a perfect script. Yeah, same. I think it's the most rewatchable movie ever made. It's in contention for, and it's so brilliant just from the opening how they pair someone who's always late with Marty McFly with Doc Brown, whose gadgets don't always work, and then of course Marty gets sent back to the past, the 1955 year, and he has to work with him to get back to the future. Like it just fires on all cylinders. I think it's a brilliant movie. It's quotable. I know Gal, you were quoting Biff earlier. He's an iconic movie villain, and all around, it's one of those all timer movies, and it's like the definitive time travel movie to me.
Yeah, and I love that like in a time travel movie, the biggest villain is some small town bully.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's no like external force that's like the timekeepers or something weird in this franchise. It's really just the Tannins and their generation long like bullies.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's always new things to discover with Back to the Future. Like,
yeah. I think we've watched together once, right, Gal? We
I think
did like
so.
a movie, like a watch party with a bunch of our friends
Oh
from
yeah, yeah, yeah.
college, at one of their places, and it was like such a blast. I think it was last year that we did that,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, I think also watch this movie every year. Like it's one of
Hmm.
my favorite movies, like you said, of all time. I think it's in my top 10. If not, it's like in my top 15 for sure. Um, and yeah, this is the quintessential time travel movie. It, like you said, it is kind of like the boring pick, but it's also like the best pick. Like there's no other movie that's better than this one as a time travel movie, in my
Also,
opinion.
if you look, there's a good soundtrack there. You got Johnny Be Good, which this movie introduced me to, and then The Power of Love by Huey Lewis, which was actually nominated because they wrote the song for the movie's soundtrack, and now I listen to that song a lot.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Even
a
Mr.
good
Sandman's
movie.
classic.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's such a good movie. If you're not creeped out about the mum thing, 10 out of 10 movie.
So, Alan, what's your number one?
Cause that was your number one as well, right, Gal?
I said it was my number two, but
Okay. So
do we want to get to that?
okay, no, my number one. I guess it's better for me
Let's
to
go to
my
Alan,
number
and then
one
we'll
right
go.
now, because technically, yes, it is Back to the Future one, but I wanted to do something different.
Did bro really pick Back to the Future too?
I picked Back to the Future 2. I love Back to the Future 2 so much. It's as a movie, I understand it's not as good as the first one, but like as my favorite, I do like it better than the first one, like just personally, even though I can admit that it's not as good. Yeah, that's definitely my favorite superhero. Definitely my favorite like time travel movie of all time. Um, I really like the idea of like going to the future and coming back. Like, and it was the first movie I think that ever did that like really well. And I love the exploration of 2015, which is
Yeah, they really accurately
not,
captured it.
not nearly as cool to live in this decade as it seemed like it was gonna be.
Wait, guys, I gotta go catch a bus on my hoverboard. I'll be right back.
Yeah, definitely not as cool to live right now as it sounded. But yeah,
What's
as
it?
a kid, that just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because I think I watched it in probably like, what, 2005, 2004, something like that for the first time. And I was like, oh, holy shit, 10 years from now, I'm going to be flying around in a hoverboard. And that definitely did not happen. But
Making
like,
pizza with a little thing that expands out into a full pizza.
yes, we do have the shoelace thing, I guess. But it's expensive as
Wasn't
hell.
Marty like confined to a wheelchair in this? Someone was confined to a wheelchair in this movie, or like super obese. I don't remember. Like,
Maybe
one of them
Marty
was-
in the future?
or
No.
he was just a couch potato,
He was a couch potato, I think. I
like
don't
the
think
future Marty, in 2015.
I
And
love
then
the gigantic FaceTime TVs that they had as well. Like, yeah, I don't know, man. This movie is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I
I thought
love
it was
so
like
much.
so insane that like Grandpa Biff took the sports almanac, and he was so smart. Like he left it with young Biff, and this like created like
Created the
rich
Trump
Biff.
future.
Yeah, and then it was so intense because like he's going back to the same thing he did before, so something has to go wrong here, right? Like that was always like when I was a kid, I was like holding my seat during that part.
Yeah, like smartest villain move in a lot of these time travel movies was that one. Like that was a genius move, and yeah, I really like the idea of seeing like these three different realities of what could have been. Yeah, again, the first movie to do that in a meaningful way, and like, yeah, I don't have any. I can't talk like how much fun this movie is for the rest of my life, so I'll just stop.
And
Okay.
then I want to mention real quick before you move on how they go back to the end of Back to the Future 1 at the end of Back to the Future 2, and he's like revisiting it and like trying not to disrupt that timeline. Like it's, again, these are smart movies. If you think too much about them, it'll like send you in this weird spiral mentally because it just messes with you, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I love how it begins, because also they had no idea if Back to the Future 1 was gonna do well, but it ends on a cliffhanger. And in my opinion, it's one of the best payoffs to a cliffhanger, maybe in cinematic history.
Except for when they recast it, they had to recast Jennifer with
Oh, yeah,
Elizabeth Shue.
His girlfriend, that's right. Yeah.
Shout out Elizabeth Shue though, great actress.
What's your number one, Gal?
Okay, so I went with number 2 for Back to the Future because number 1 in my heart is the Terminator.
How is the hell is that not on my top five? Every time
Terminator.
that we do these top fives, we always hate it. And
So I know Back to the Future deserves to be number 1, but in my heart, Terminator 1 and 2. I'll say the Terminator because it just deserves to be talked about. It's always going to be one of my favorite movies. I also discovered it at such a big movie lover point in my life where I was not only watching like family movies or Marvel movies. And this was like one of the movies that got me to love action movies and so on. And it's a very simple plot. You know, some people think that there's like horror elements to it too, because the whole time it's Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor being chased in a regular world by this robot from the future. And Linda Hamilton, she isn't like as capable yet as she's in the second movie, in which she's badass, but she's still very good. And the action scenes are still epic, especially like the colors in the clubs or the big like parking garage chase or the end in the factory. I mean, if you've seen Back to the Future, you got to watch The Terminator if you love action movies. Like I feel like those are two movies, Back to the Future and Terminator, that almost nobody dislikes.
Yeah, I okay, yeah, the Terminator movies, I've only seen the first two, and I enjoy them a lot, but it's been years since I've seen them, so I got to give them a revisit. I did prefer the first, which I think was a hot take. I liked how it was more of like a horror movie. The second one, you get like straight up action. But yeah, I enjoy them. There's no denying they're classics.
Yeah, those are one and two are two of my favorite movies of all time. Um, and then yeah, not much else to say. Genesis, don't watch it. Salvation, don't watch it. Dark Fate is whatever. I didn't watch the third one
I have
ever.
only seen the first, the second one, and Dark Fate.
Like Dark Fate's okay, but it's not a must watch either. But Genesis is pretty bad. Salvation's really bad. Like skip those. I haven't seen Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, but I hear it's
Is
also
that one with
terrible.
Bale?
No,
There's one.
Terminator Salvation is Christian Bale.
Okay,
Also not very
haven't
good.
seen
It's
that
him and
either.
Sam Worthington, Bryce Dallas Howard.
I
It's
watched
like
the
a
one
full-on
with
reboot.
Emilia Clarke
That's Genesis.
and 1 and 2. So these are the three ones.
Wait, so you did see Dark Fate or you didn't see
I
Dark
did
Fate?
not. I
Oh.
thought that was Dark Fate.
No, Dark Fate's with Linda Hamilton.
So definitely that one. I did not.
Uh,
Oh, that's the one, the new one, right?
yeah, with Mackenzie Davis.
With the Deadpool director.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm mad at my list now.
Yeah, me too. Like, why didn't I put
Because
Tenet and X-Men
uh,
and Avengers
my updated list.
and Harry Potter?
Unfortunately, Edge of Tomorrow and Palm Springs are relegated to 7 and 6, and my new number 5 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban,
Cheating.
and my new number 4 is Terminator, because it's also one of my top 15 movies of all time. So it's ridiculous that it's not on my list. I just forgot about it.
I'll stand by shouting out 12 Monkeys and Edge of Tomorrow, though. But I would like interchange them with Tenet and X-Men, though. Bill and Ted, still great. Sorry, Bill and Ted. I'm bashing on it a lot. Even though it's not my number 5, I still love Bill and Ted. So watch that and Bill and Ted Face the Music. Also, we didn't talk about it, but I have a soft spot for Men in Black 3, which I think is such a good time
it's
travel
so
movie.
Fun. It's so
I think
so
it's the
fun.
best Men in Black movie, better than the first.
I don't agree,
But-
but it's the second
Yo,
best.
because you also got Josh Brolin doing a perfect young Tommy Lee Jones, and the villain's name is literally Boris the Animal. Y'all don't know how many times I've watched this movie. It's so good. And Will Smith goes back in time and meets his dad at like Cape Canaveral during the moon launch. It's watch Men in Black 3, even if you
I need
haven't
to.
seen the others.
Yeah, I haven't seen the third.
Oh, shout out Men in Black 3. I personally, it's a very hot take. I think it's better than the first.
The new Black Man sucks ass, the one with Chris Hemsworth, but like the whole trilogy, I think before that was pretty fun.
I didn't like 2 that much either, but 1 and 3 are
As
great.
a kid, I loved the three of them, but as an adult, I only loved the first and the third one. Actually, I take that back. It's not Terminator that would be my number 4. Is Terminator 2.
Yeah,
So,
same.
yeah, I love that movie so much, and it's I think my 20th favorite movie of all time or something like that.
Terminator 2 is always going to be on my top 5.